The research ship Zenith's Edge moved slowly through the dark space around planet Kairos 7. Inside the ship, Commander Jake Morrison checked his equipment one more time. He was nervous but excited. This was humanity's first joint mission with the Galactic Council, and he wanted everything to go perfectly. "Are you ready for this, Jake?" asked Dr. Lisa Chang, adjusting her camera equipment. She was the team's xenobiology expert and had been studying alien life forms for 10 years. Next to her, Dr. Ben Rodriguez was organizing his sample containers. He specialized in animal behavior and had volunteered for this dangerous mission. Jake nodded and looked out the window at the planet below. Kairos 7 looked peaceful from space with its purple oceans and green continents, but he knew better. This planet was home to the most feared creatures in the known galaxy. "The Vexari are extremely dangerous," said Commander Thekla, the ship's alien leader. She was a tall, blue-skinned Zephyrian with 4 arms and large black eyes. "They have killed hundreds of explorers. Their claws can cut through metal. Their teeth contain deadly poison. They can walk through walls like ghosts." Dr. Krikstal, the insect-like scientist, clicked his mandibles nervously. "No species has ever made peaceful contact with them. 3 different colonies tried to settle on Kairos 7. All 3 colonies were completely destroyed." Jake listened carefully, but he was still curious about these creatures. Earth had many dangerous animals, and humans had learned to live with most of them. How different could these Vexari really be? The landing party prepared their equipment and stepped onto the planet's surface. The gravity was slightly heavier than Earth's, and the air had a sweet smell like flowers. 2 suns hung in the sky, casting everything in golden light. They walked through a forest of tall, crystal-like trees. The alien crew members kept their weapons ready and moved very carefully. Jake and his human teammates walked more casually, looking around with interest at the strange plants and colorful insects. "Stay close together," whispered Thekla. "Vexari can appear without warning." After an hour of walking, they heard a soft crying sound coming from behind some rocks. Thekla immediately raised her weapon. "Vexari cubs," she said quietly. "This is very bad. The mother will be nearby and she will attack to protect her babies." The alien crew members began backing away slowly, but Jake moved forward. The crying sound was getting louder and it sounded sad and frightened. "Jake, no," called Dr. Krikstal. "Do not go near them." But Jake was already climbing over the rocks. On the other side, he found 3 small creatures huddled together. They were about the size of large dogs with soft gray fur and bright blue eyes. Their claws were indeed very sharp and small crystal spines ran along their backs, but they were not attacking or threatening. They were crying like lost puppies. "Oh my God," Jake whispered, his heart melting. "They're absolutely adorable." The Vexari cubs looked up at him with their big, scared eyes. One of them made a small chirping sound and took a tiny step toward him. Jake slowly got down on his knees and held out his hand. "It's okay, little guys," he said softly. "Are you lost? Where's your mom?" Dr. Chang appeared beside him, already taking pictures. "Jake, look at their behavior. They're not aggressive at all. They're just scared babies." Dr. Rodriguez joined them, pulling out his notebook. "This is incredible. Look how they stay close together for comfort. And listen to those sounds they're making. Those are definitely distress calls, not threat displays." The alien crew members watched in complete horror as the 3 humans sat down with the deadly Vexari cubs. One of the cubs, braver than the others, walked up to Jake and sniffed his hand. When Jake gently scratched behind its ear, the cub made a happy purring sound. "This is impossible," said Thekla, her voice shaking. "Vexari do not purr. Vexari do not allow touching. They kill anything that comes near them." But the cubs were acting exactly like friendly Earth animals. One climbed into Dr. Chang's lap while she took photos. Another started playing with Dr. Rodriguez's shoelaces. The 3rd cub rolled onto its back, showing its soft belly to Jake. "They're just babies," Jake said, gently rubbing the cub's belly. "Look at these little paws. And their eyes are so expressive. I think they're trying to communicate with us." The cubs began following the humans around, making happy chirping noises. When Jake stood up to continue the mission, all 3 cubs stayed close to his legs like loyal pets. "We cannot leave the cubs here alone," said Dr. Chang. "They'll die without their mother." "We cannot take them back to the ship," said Thekla firmly. "They are dangerous predators. When they grow up, they will kill us all." But Jake was already picking up the smallest cub, who immediately snuggled against his chest and closed its eyes. "Look at this little face. How could anyone think this is dangerous?" Dr. Rodriguez was documenting everything. Their body language is completely non-threatening. They're displaying classic juvenile mammal behaviors, seeking comfort, staying close to adults, making submissive postures. The other two cubs pressed against Jake's legs, looking up at him with trusting eyes. It was clear they had decided he was safe and friendly. "This changes everything we know about Vexari behavior," said Dr. Chang excitedly. "We need to study them properly." The alien crew members could not understand what they were seeing. According to every scientific report, every military briefing, and every survivor story, Vexari were mindless killing machines, but these humans were treating them like beloved pets. As they walked back to the ship, the cubs played around the humans' feet. They chased each other in circles, tumbled over rocks, and made happy squeaking sounds. Occasionally, one would run up to Jake or the other humans for attention and petting. "I do not understand," said Dr. Krixtal quietly to Thekla. "Are humans immune to fear? Do they not see the claws and teeth?" "I think humans see something we do not," Thekla replied, watching Jake laugh as one of the cubs tried to climb up his backpack. "But I do not know if this is wisdom or madness." When they reached the ship, Jake turned to his alien colleagues. "We're going to take care of these cubs until we find their mother. They're not dangerous. They're just lost children." The Galactic Council was about to receive a very surprising report about humanity's first contact with the galaxy's most feared predators. And Jake Morrison had no idea that his simple act of kindness was about to shock every civilized species in known space. The video spread across the galactic network faster than anyone had expected. Within 6 hours, every major news station in known space was showing the same footage. 3 human beings sitting peacefully with Vexari cubs, scratching their ears and talking to them like pets. On New Babylon Station, the massive space city that served as the Galactic Council headquarters, emergency meetings were being called in 17 different languages. Captain Amy Sullivan, Earth's chief diplomatic representative, sat in her office watching her communication device buzz with incoming calls from panicked alien governments. Captain Sullivan came the voice of High Chancellor Vextar of the Altarian Republic. "We must discuss this human situation immediately. Are your people immune to fear? Do they possess some kind of mental shielding?" Amy rubbed her forehead tiredly. This was the 15th call in 2 hours. "Chancellor, humans experience fear just like any other species. We simply have different reactions to certain stimuli. But the footage clearly shows humans treating apex predators like domestic animals," insisted the Chancellor. "This suggests either incredible bravery or severe mental impairment." Before Amy could respond, another call came in from the Zhektar Crystal Collective. Their representative, a living crystal formation named Bright Edge of Dawn, immediately began speaking in rapid harmonics. "Human Captain Sullivan, our scientists have analyzed the human brain patterns during Vexari interaction. The data suggests possible neurological damage. We recommend immediate medical intervention for your species." Amy sighed and switched to the public news channels. The story was everywhere. The headline on Galactic News Network read, "Humans cuddle with Galaxy's deadliest predators." The footage showed Jake Morrison holding a Vexari cub like a baby while it slept peacefully in his arms. Meanwhile, on Earth, the reaction was completely different. Social media platforms were exploding with excitement about the space puppies. The hashtag Vexari are very good boys was trending across all networks. Thousands of humans were sharing the video with comments like, "I want one," and "They're so fluffy." Dr. Steve Kim, a marine biologist from the San Diego Zoo, was quickly becoming famous for his appearances on talk shows. "What humans are seeing," he explained to a fascinated television audience, "are classic juvenile characteristics that trigger our nurturing instincts. Large eyes relative to body size, playful movements, and pack-bonding behaviors. These are the same features that make us love puppies and kittens." The host leaned forward with interest. "So you're saying these deadly alien predators display the same traits as Earth baby animals?" "Exactly," Dr. Kim replied. "Evolution has programmed humans to find these characteristics appealing because they help us identify and care for our own young. The problem is this programming doesn't distinguish between Earth babies and alien babies." In New York, pet store owner Maria Santos was watching the interview when an idea struck her. She immediately started a crowdfunding campaign called Adopt a Space Puppy, Bring Vexari Cubs to Earth. Within 6 hours, she had raised 3 million credits from eager donors. The campaign was shut down by government officials, but not before it had been noticed by alien intelligence agencies across the galaxy. Reports flooded in about human irresponsible behavior and dangerous pet obsession. Back on the research ship, Dr. Chang was working late in her laboratory, analyzing hours of Vexari cub behavior. The 3 cubs, now named Buddy, Princess, and Spike by the human crew, were sleeping peacefully in a makeshift den made from blankets and pillows. "Look at this," she said to Dr. Rodriguez, who was reviewing his behavioral notes. "When they're content, they make these soft chirping sounds. When they want attention, they rub against your legs like cats. And watch this. When one cub gets upset, the other 2 immediately comfort it." Dr. Rodriguez nodded enthusiastically. "They're definitely pack animals with complex social behaviors, and they've clearly adopted us as part of their pack. Princess follows Jake everywhere. Buddy won't eat unless I'm sitting nearby, and Spike has decided that Dr. Chang is his sleeping buddy." As if summoned by his name, Spike woke up and padded over to Dr. Chang, making a soft, questioning sound. She gently picked him up and he immediately curled up in her arms, purring contentedly. "How can anyone think this is dangerous?" she wondered aloud. In the ship's communication center, Commander Thekla was trying to explain the situation to her superiors on the Zephyrian homeworld. "The humans show no fear whatsoever," she reported. "They treat the Vexari cubs like beloved companions. Jake Morrison has even started teaching them simple commands." "This is impossible," came the reply from General Zaktor. "Vexari cannot be trained. They cannot be domesticated. They kill everything they encounter. I am sending you the footage," Tekla said quietly. "See for yourself." 20 minutes later, General Zaktor called back, his voice stunned. "I have watched a human child play hide-and-seek with 3 Vexari cubs. They are taking turns hiding behind furniture while the cubs search for them, making happy sounds when they find the child. This defies everything we know about Vexari behavior." The footage in question showed 8-year-old Emma Watson, daughter of research station worker Danny Watson, who had joined the mission as a family specialist. Emma had quickly become the cubs' favorite playmate, and they followed her around the ship like loyal pets. "Look, buddy," Emma could be heard saying in the video, "I'm hiding behind this chair. Can you find me?" The Vexari cub tilted its head, listened to her voice, then trotted around the chair and chirped happily when he found her. Emma giggled and hugged him, and he licked her face with his small tongue. The video was being analyzed by xenobiologists across 17 star systems, all trying to understand how creatures they had feared for centuries could display such gentle, playful behavior. Dr. Carl Jensen, Earth's leading xenopsychologist, was called in to explain human psychology to an emergency session of the Galactic Council's Science Committee. "Humans evolved alongside predators," he explained to the confused alien representatives. "We learned to distinguish between threats and non-threats based on behavior rather than appearance. What other species see as dangerous claws and teeth, humans see as natural tools that are not being used aggressively. But surely you can see that these creatures will become dangerous as they mature," argued Dr. Clixonal of the Thorian Science Academy. "Perhaps," Dr. Jensen admitted, "but humans have successfully domesticated wolves, which were once deadly predators. We've learned to live peacefully with bears, tigers, and sharks. Given time and understanding, we might be able to do the same with Vexari." The alien scientists exchanged worried glances. The idea of domesticating Vexari seemed not just dangerous, but completely insane. But on a small frontier world called New Dakota, rancher Pete Williams was about to prove that humans and Vexari could indeed coexist peacefully. And his discovery would shock the galaxy even more than the Cubs had. News networks across space prepared for another wave of impossible footage from the humans. The galaxy was beginning to realize that everything they thought they knew about both Vexari and humans might be completely wrong. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything Ambassador Helen Martinez had ever seen. Representatives from dozens of species filled the massive chamber on New Babylon Station, and every one of them looked either terrified or angry. Some were both. Helen walked to the center podium while whispers filled the air in multiple alien languages. She could hear fragments of conversation, human madness, galactic safety threat, and immediate quarantine protocols being discussed in worried tones. General Vakthul of the Thorian Empire stood first, his massive frame towering over the assembly. "Ambassador Martinez," he began in his deep rumbling voice, We have compiled evidence of 17 separate incidents where humans have treated deadly galactic fauna as harmless pets. A holographic display activated, showing various news footage. Helen watched with growing concern as the evidence mounted. There were human tourists hand-feeding the carnivorous cloud jellies of Epsilon Eridani, treating the floating predators like friendly dolphins. Another clip showed human children on the mining world of Kepler 442b, keeping baby voidworms as classroom pets, despite the creatures being capable of eating through solid titanium. This footage, General Vakthul continued, shows human colonists on Tau Ceti attempting to domesticate swarm beetles, creatures that have destroyed entire ecosystems. The video showed a human farmer named Bob Martinez cheerfully feeding insects the size of house cats while they crawled over his arms and shoulders. But the most shocking footage was yet to come. General Vakthul activated a new file, and gasps echoed through the chamber. This was recorded yesterday on the human frontier world of New Dakota. The video showed a middle-aged human man walking across a grassy field. Following behind him like an obedient dog was a full-grown Vexari, 6 feet tall, covered in gleaming crystal spines, with claws that could slice through metal. But instead of attacking, the creature was calmly herding a group of cattle. His name is Pete Williams, General Vakthul said grimly. He claims to have successfully domesticated an adult Vexari. He calls it Spike and says it helps with farm work. The video continued, showing Pete throwing a metal sphere across the field. The massive Vexari bounded after it like an earth dog, picked it up in its mouth and brought it back to Pete, who scratched behind its ears and said, "Good boy, Spike." Several alien representatives made sounds of distress. The aquatic Merdani delegation began rapidly flashing colors that Helen recognized as signs of extreme agitation. "How is this possible?" asked Chancellor Brightstar Rising of the Crystalline Collective. "Adult Vexari are apex predators. They should have killed this human immediately." Helen cleared her throat and stepped forward. "Honorable representatives, I would like to call Dr. Carl Jensen to explain human psychology and our relationship with potentially dangerous species." Dr. Jensen approached the podium calmly. He was a tall, gray-haired man who had spent his career studying how different species perceived threats and formed relationships. "Esteemed delegates," he began, "humans have a unique evolutionary history. We developed alongside numerous predators and learned to coexist with them through understanding rather than fear." He activated his own holographic display, showing images from Earth. "These are wolves, the ancestors of domestic dogs. For thousands of years, they were among our most dangerous predators, but humans learned to communicate with them, understand their needs, and eventually form partnerships. Today, there are over 900 million domestic dogs living peacefully with humans." The alien representatives listened with fascination and growing alarm as Dr. Jensen continued. "We have similar relationships with horses, which could easily kill a human with one kick. We work alongside dolphins, which are intelligent predators capable of great violence. We even keep snakes and spiders as pets, creatures that many humans instinctively fear." "But these Vexari are not Earth animals," protested Dr. Siltek of the Mantid Collective. "They are alien predators with abilities your species has never encountered." "True," Dr. Jensen admitted, "but the principles remain the same. Humans tend to judge creatures by their behavior rather than their appearance or reputation. When we see a Vexari cub playing and seeking attention, we respond to those behaviors regardless of what the creature might become." At that moment, an urgent communication arrived from the research ship. Captain Amy Sullivan's voice filled the chamber. "We're receiving a live transmission from New Dakota. Pete Williams wants to address the Galactic Council directly." The massive viewing screen activated, showing Pete Williams standing in his farmyard. Beside him sat Spike, the adult Vexari, looking calm and alert. Several alien representatives instinctively moved back from the screen. "Hello there," Pete said with a friendly wave. "I heard y'all are worried about humans and Vexari getting along. I wanted to show you that it ain't nothing to be scared of." Pete reached over and patted Spike's head. The massive creature leaned into the touch, making a deep rumbling sound that was clearly contentment. "Spike here showed up on my property about 6 months ago. He was hurt and hungry. Instead of shooting him like my neighbors suggested, I decided to help him out." The footage switched to security camera recordings showing Pete carefully approaching the injured Vexari with food and medical supplies. Over several weeks, the video showed the creature slowly learning to trust the human, eventually allowing Pete to treat its wounds. Turns out, Vexari are smart as whips, Pete continued. Spike learned his name in just a few days. He learned to come when called, to stay off the furniture, and to be gentle around the livestock. He's the best farmhand I've ever had. To demonstrate, Pete pointed toward a group of cattle that had wandered near a dangerous cliff. Spike, go get them cows back where they belong. The Vexari immediately trotted toward the cattle, using its imposing presence to guide them away from danger without harming them. He's loyal, protective, and intelligent, Pete said proudly. Last month, a pack of wild razorbacks attacked my neighbor's farm. Spike fought them off and saved 3 families. He's a hero in these parts. The transmission ended, leaving the Galactic Council chamber in stunned silence. Finally, Dr. Krickstall spoke up, his mandibles clicking nervously. This suggests that everything we know about Vexari behavior may be incorrect. Ambassador Helen sees the opportunity. That's exactly what our scientists are discovering. Dr. Chang and Dr. Rodriguez have documented extensive evidence that Vexari are intelligent, social creatures capable of forming bonds with other species. The aggressive behavior reported in previous encounters may have been defensive rather than predatory. She activated another display, showing Dr. Chang's research footage. The 3 Vexari cubs were now living comfortably on the research ship, playing with human crew members and following basic commands. One video showed Princess, the smallest cub, bringing Jake Morrison his dropped stylus during a meeting. Our preliminary studies suggest that Vexari may be as intelligent as earth dolphins or great apes, Helen continued. They have complex social structures, problem-solving abilities, and emotional intelligence. The previous colony failures may have been due to misunderstanding rather than inherent aggression. General Vakthul sat down heavily, looking confused and concerned. If this is true, then we have misjudged an entire species for centuries. Dr. Jensen nodded. Humans have learned that intelligence and perceived danger don't always correlate. Some of our most successful partnerships are with species that were once considered threats. The chamber erupted in discussion as representatives tried to process this new information. The idea that the galaxy's most feared predators might actually be misunderstood. Social creatures was challenging everything they thought they knew about interspecies. Relations. Chancellor Brightstar Rising spoke for many when she said, "If humans can form peaceful relationships with Vexari, what other dangerous species might we have misunderstood?" Helen smiled. "That's exactly what we propose to find out. Earth requests permission to establish the Human Diplomatic Corps, specializing in first contact with potentially misunderstood species. The vote would be close, but humanity was about to change how the galaxy approached the unknown." Dr. Rodriguez stood in the main research lab aboard the Zenith's Edge, watching the 3 Vexari cubs play with a puzzle toy he had designed. The cubs were working together to solve it, making soft chirping sounds as they communicated with each other. It was clear they were much more intelligent than anyone had previously believed. "This changes everything," he said to Dr. Chang, who was reviewing hours of behavioral footage. "Look at this problem-solving sequence. They're not just randomly trying things, they're planning their approach." Dr. Chang nodded excitedly. "And watch their social interactions. When Princess gets frustrated with the puzzle, Buddy and Spike immediately move to comfort her. That's complex emotional intelligence." On the other side of the lab, linguistic specialist Dr. Nancy Foster was working with Commander Thekla to analyze Vexari communication patterns. They had been recording the sounds the cubs made and comparing them to historical audio from previous Vexari encounters. "I think we've been making a terrible mistake," Dr. Foster said, looking up from her computer. "These sounds that previous explorers interpreted as aggressive snarls, they're actually attempts at communication." Commander Thekla examined the audio patterns with growing horror. "You mean the Vexari in previous encounters were trying to talk to us?" "Exactly. Listen to this recording from the failed Kepler colony." Dr. Foster played an audio file of deep, complex sounds. "We thought these were threat displays. But when I compared them to the cubs' communication patterns, they're clearly sophisticated language structures." Meanwhile, on Earth, veterinarian Dr. Chris Taylor was making his own breakthrough. He had been working with the injured Vexari cub that had been brought to the Veterinary Research Center in Colorado. The cub, nicknamed Buttons by the staff, had suffered from a genetic condition that affected its crystal spine development. The amazing thing, Dr. Taylor explained to his colleague Dr. Sarah Kim, is how similar their physiology is to Earth mammals. With some modifications, standard Earth veterinary medicine works perfectly on them. Buttons, now fully healed, had become the research center's unofficial mascot. The young Vexari followed Dr. Taylor everywhere, slept in his office, and had even learned to assist with simple medical procedures by fetching tools with his mouth. "He's incredibly gentle," Dr. Taylor said, scratching behind Button's ears. "Yesterday he helped me examine a scared kitten by lying down nearby and purring. The kitten immediately calmed down. It's like he understands that his presence can be either frightening or comforting, and he chooses how to present himself." The breakthrough moment came when 8-year-old Emma Watson, visiting her father on the research station, made an incredible discovery. Emma had been spending time with the 3 cubs every day after school, and she had noticed something the adult researchers had missed. "Daddy," she said to her father Danny one evening, "I think the cubs are trying to teach me their language." Danny looked up from his work with interest. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "Watch this," Emma said, approaching Princess. She made a specific chirping sound, and Princess immediately brought her a ball. Emma made a different sound, and Buddy came over for petting. A third sound brought Spike to her side in a protective stance. "They taught me these sounds over the past week," Emma explained. "Each sound means something different. This one means play, this one means comfort, and this one means protect." Dr. Foster, who had been watching, nearly dropped her recording equipment. "Emma, can you make those sounds again, slowly?" Emma repeated the sounds while Dr. Foster recorded them. When she analyzed the audio patterns, she discovered that Emma had unconsciously learned a basic Vexari vocabulary of 12 distinct words. "This is incredible," Dr. Foster said. "The cubs have been teaching her their language, and she's been learning it naturally through play." The discovery led to a rapid acceleration in human Vexari communication research. Within days, the research team had identified over 50 distinct Vexari words and phrases. They realized that the previous attacks on human colonies had likely been attempts at communication that were tragically misunderstood. Dr. Alan Price, a senior researcher who had initially been skeptical of the human approach to Vexari, published his findings in the Galactic Journal of Xenobiology. His paper, titled "Cognitive and Social Complexity in Vexari Populations: A Reassessment," sent shockwaves through the scientific community. "Vexari intelligence levels are comparable to Earth dolphins or great apes," he wrote. "Their social structures show remarkable similarities to human tribal organizations, with clear hierarchies, cooperative behaviors, and evidence of cultural transmission of knowledge." The paper documented extensive evidence of Vexari intelligence, their use of tools, their complex communication system, their ability to plan for future events, and their capacity for forming emotional bonds with both their own species and others. Back on New Dakota, Pete Williams was documenting his own discoveries about adult Vexari behavior. Spike had not only become an excellent farmhand, but had also begun teaching Pete about Vexari culture in return. "It's the darndest thing," Pete told a visiting researcher. "Spike's been showing me how his people build their homes. They don't just live in caves like we thought. They create these beautiful crystal formations that serve as both shelter and communication networks." Pete led the researcher to a hillside where Spike had been working for weeks. There, built into the natural rock formation, was an intricate structure of arranged crystals that hummed with subtle energy. The pattern was clearly artificial and showed sophisticated engineering knowledge. "Spike built this?" the researcher asked in amazement. "With his own claws," Pete confirmed. "And it's not just pretty, it's functional. The crystals amplify and transmit sound over long distances. It's like a natural communication system. Spike's been using it to talk to other Vexari across the continent." The implications were staggering. If Vexari had their own technology and communication networks, then the previous colony failures might have been seen by the Vexari as invasions rather than settlement attempts. Dr. Chang, reviewing all the new data, made a startling realization. "We've been approaching this all wrong," she told Jake Morrison during their weekly briefing. "We've been treating Vexari like animals to be studied or threats to be avoided. But they're not animals, they're people." Jake nodded thoughtfully. He had been watching Princess try to mimic human writing, carefully using her claws to trace letters on a tablet. Her concentration and determination reminded him of a human child learning to write. "So what do we do now?" he asked. We treat them like people, Dr. Chang replied. We learn their language, understand their culture, and try to establish real diplomatic relations. The research team began preparing for a historic moment, the first formal attempt at diplomatic communication with the Vexari species. But they had no idea that the Vexari had been preparing for the same thing. On the other side of Kiro 7, in a crystal city hidden deep underground, Vexari elders were discussing the strange new creatures that had appeared on their world. The creatures walked on two legs, made interesting sounds, and most surprisingly, had shown kindness to Vexari cubs. Elder Crystal Song at Dawn had been monitoring the human broadcasts through their crystal communication network. The sounds the humans made were strange, but their actions spoke clearly. They meant no harm. Perhaps, she said to the gathered council, it is time to try speaking with them directly. The galaxy was about to witness the first intentional diplomatic contact between humans and Vexari, and the results would change interspecies relations forever. 6 months later, the neutral world of Haven Prime hosted the first interspecies domestication summit in galactic history. Representatives from 43 different species gathered to witness something that would have been impossible to imagine a year earlier. Formal cooperation between humans and Vexari. The main auditorium was packed with diplomats, scientists and journalists from across the galaxy. Many had come expecting to see proof of human insanity. Instead, they were about to witness a revolution in interspecies understanding. Pete Williams walked onto the stage with Spike at his side. The massive Vexari moved with calm confidence, his crystal spines glinting under the lights, instead of gasps of fear. The audience watched in fascinated silence as Spike sat down beside Pete like a well-trained partner. Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all classifications, Pete began with his characteristic easy smile. I'd like to introduce my friend and business partner, Spike. He's been helping me run my ranch for 6 months now, and I can honestly say he's the most reliable employee I've ever had. Pete gestured to a large screen that showed footage from his ranch. The video demonstrated Spike's daily routine, herding cattle, protecting livestock from predators, and even helping with repairs using his natural ability to phase through solid matter to access difficult spaces. Spike can check on animals in dangerous terrain where humans can't safely go, Pete explained. His phasing ability means he can inspect equipment for damage without taking it apart, and his natural protective instincts make him an excellent guardian for the livestock. The audience watched in amazement as the footage showed Spike gently nudging a lost calf back to its mother, then carefully using his claws to open a stuck gate. In one remarkable sequence, Spike detected a gas leak in underground pipes by phasing through the ground and marking the exact location for human repair crews. But the most important thing, Pete continued, is that Spike chose to stay and work with me. He's a free partner, not a pet or a servant. He could leave anytime he wants, but he chooses to stay because we've built trust and friendship. Dr. Chang took the stage next, presenting her completed research on Vexari intelligence and social behavior. Our studies confirm that Vexari are not only intelligent, but possess complex emotional and social capabilities, she announced. They form lifelong pair bonds, engage in collaborative problem-solving, and demonstrate what can only be described as artistic expression. The screen showed footage of Vexari creating intricate crystal formations that served both practical and aesthetic purposes. The patterns were mathematically complex and visually stunning, clearly the product of advanced intelligence and creative thinking. We've documented over 200 distinct vocalizations in Vexari language, Dr. Chang continued. They have words for abstract concepts like friendship, beauty, and future planning. They tell stories, share knowledge across generations, and even appear to have forms of humor. The proof came when Princess, now fully grown, walked onto the stage with Jake Morrison. The audience tensed as they saw the adult Vexari, but Princess simply sat down and began making a series of melodic sounds. A human translator provided the words, "Greetings, beings of many worlds. I am Princess who plays with strange friends. I speak for my people in friendship." The effect on the audience was electric. This was the first time in galactic history that a Vexari had directly addressed a multi-species gathering in their own language. Princess continued speaking, with Jake translating. "My people have watched your skyships for many seasons. We did not understand your intentions. When you came to our world before, We tried to communicate, but our words were not understood. Fear grew on both sides, and violence followed. An elderly Altarian delegate stood up, his voice shaking. "You mean the colony attacks were misunderstandings?" Princess nodded, a gesture she had learned from humans. "My grandmother remembers the first sky people. They built their homes in our sacred crystal gardens without permission. When we tried to ask them to move, they attacked us with fire weapons. We defended ourselves, but we did not wish to fight." The revelation sent murmurs through the audience. Decades of assuming Vexari were mindless predators were crumbling under the weight of actual communication. Dr. Foster presented the linguistic breakthrough that had made this moment possible. Working with 8-year-old Emma Watson, we've developed a basic human Vexari translation protocol. Emma's natural ability to learn languages, combined with the patience of our Vexari friends, has created the first bridge between our species. Emma herself took the stage. Now 9 years old and completely comfortable with her Vexari companions, Buddy and Spike flanked her protectively as she addressed the assembly. "The cubs taught me their words by playing games," Emma explained in her clear, young voice. "They're really good teachers and they're very patient. They like to learn human words too. Buddy can say hello and thank you in 7 human languages now." As if to demonstrate, Buddy made careful sounds that were recognizably human words. "Hello, thank you, friends." The audience was stunned into silence. A young Vexari speaking human languages was beyond anything they had imagined possible. Commander Jake Morrison stepped forward for the final presentation. 6 months ago, the Galactic Council was concerned about human judgment regarding dangerous species. Today, I'm here to propose the establishment of the Human Diplomatic Corps, specializing in first contact with misunderstood species. He activated a holographic display showing a map of the galaxy. "Our preliminary surveys have identified 37 species currently classified as hostile or dangerous, that show signs of intelligence and potential for communication. We believe many of these classifications may be based on misunderstandings similar to what happened with the Vexari." The display showed footage from recent human missions. Successful communication with the crystalline entities of Rigel 4, peaceful contact with the energy beings of the Horsehead Nebula, and cooperative research with the silicon-based lifeforms of Wolf 359. "Humans aren't immune to fear," Jake explained. "We're simply willing to look past surface appearances to find common ground. We've learned that intelligence and friendship can exist in forms we never expected." The vote to establish the Human Diplomatic Corps passed with unprecedented support. Even former skeptics like General Vakthul voted in favor after witnessing the peaceful coexistence of humans and Vexari. 3 months later, Haven Prime hosted the first annual Galactic Pet Show, an event that would have been unthinkable a year earlier. The exhibition halls were filled with humans proudly displaying their Vexari companions alongside traditional Earth pets. Emma Watson stood in the show ring with Buttons, who had learned to wear a small ceremonial hat for special occasions. The young Vexari performed a series of tricks he had learned, including shaking hands with the judges and carefully carrying a delicate crystal ornament without breaking it. "Best human-alien bond," announced the judge, presenting Emma with a ribbon. Buttons made happy chirping sounds and gently touched the ribbon with one claw, understanding that it represented an achievement. In the observation deck, representatives from dozens of species watched the proceedings with growing amazement. Commander Thekla stood beside Dr. Krikstal, both of them completely transformed in their understanding. "A year ago I thought humans were dangerously insane," Thekla admitted. "Now I think they see possibilities where the rest of us see only problems." Dr. Krikstal nodded, watching a human child play gentle games with a young Vexari. "Perhaps they do not see differently," he mused. "Perhaps they simply choose to look with hope instead of fear." The show concluded with the announcement of the Galactic Domestication Institute, a joint research facility staffed by humans and progressive scientists from other species. Their mission was to bridge the gap between fear and understanding throughout the galaxy. As the audience dispersed, a small miracle occurred. A nervous Jektar crystal being approached one of the Vexari and made a hesitant musical sound. The Vexari responded with gentle chirps, and within minutes, the two species were engaged in their first peaceful conversation. Jake Morrison watched from the sidelines, smiling as he saw barriers falling all around him. Humans had not only found friends among the galaxy's most feared creatures but had helped others find the courage to do the same. The galaxy had indeed been shocked to discover that humans found deadly razor-clawed creatures cute, but the real shock was learning that those creatures found humans just as fascinating and friendly in return. In a universe often divided by fear and misunderstanding, humanity had proven that friendship could bloom in the most unlikely places. Years later, historians would mark this period as the beginning of the Great Understanding, when the galaxy learned that the most dangerous assumptions were often about intelligence, friendship, and the possibility of peace.